Yesterday, the Tour de France produced the most remarkable headlines for years. Overall leader Stefan Erlo abandoned the Tour in tears. He was suffering from tendinitis, his knee too painful to continue through the Alps. The Belgian Johan Bruneel, he survived this spectacular crash as he tumbled into a ravine. He climbed out, his only concern, a new bike so he could ride on. Less than 4 kilometers from Les Arcs, the champion himself cracked. Miguel Indurain, suffering like we've never seen him suffer before, dehydrated. Since 1991, this race has never been won by anyone else. Now all Indurain could do was watch the action from afar. At the finish, more history was made as the Russian rider Evgeny Berzin became the first man from that country to pull on the leader's yellow jersey. The new top three: Berzin, Abraham Olano and Tony Rominger. Down in an unaccustomed 14th place, Miguel Indurain. And by coincidence last night, the 4 riders were all in the same hotel with their teams. And Gary Imlach was there too.
It wasn't the best piece of advance booking as far as Banesto were concerned, especially as all the teams were lumped together in one dining room. But as first Berzin and then Rominger turned up to take their places at the table, there was no sign of the man whose place they were trying to take in the race. And after a couple of false alarms turned out to be brother Prudencio and second-placed Abraham Olano, it became clear that Mig had opted for room service, probably delivered intravenously. Rominger, though, at least, was taking no pleasure in the great man's fallibility.
Well, look, I'm not a big favorite for the Tour de France. It's still other guys who can win the Tour de France. You know, you saw today in 3 kilometers you can lose 3 minutes. That can also happen to me.
Finally, Mig materialised to face the press conference mics and admitted that the weather was giving him problems. Afterwards, though, he played down to us the extent of his suffering on the stage.
No, la etapa ha ido bien, durante toda la etapa ha ido bien y tenía intención hasta de atacar al final, pero eso me ha venido de repente y es sufrir, ¿no? Porque no tenía fuerzas para poder sufrir mucho. Tengo que intentar coger el ritmo y llegar hasta arriba, hasta meta.
How much of his strength he's regained we'll obviously find out today. But although Indurain may have made the Tour less of a foregone conclusion on the evidence of last night, he's determined that when it comes, the conclusion itself will be the usual one.
Well, we know that Miguel Indurain doesn't like racing in the cold and the wet weather, and I'm afraid the forecast is against him. It's very cold here at Val d'Isère, and they're forecasting rain for the later finishers. Yesterday, you may recall Miguel Indurain taking that drink in the last couple of kilometres of the stage. That is against the race rules. The race referees fined him £100, and perhaps more importantly, they docked him 20 seconds time penalty. The route today, it's all uphill. The individual time trial bringing the riders away from the base town of Bourg-St-Maurice. 30.5 kilometres later, they will finish at Val d'Isère, and the wind is not favourable either. Well, there he is, Miguel Indurain, down in 14th place overall in the overall classification, now getting onto his bike, ready for a test which will not just be a test of time, but it'll also be a test of Miguel Indurain himself.
Well, he would obviously have tried to recuperate as much as possible yesterday. It's the kind of thing that can happen to any professional cyclist going into a bad day like that. He's obviously not eaten properly. He was worried about the cold weather. It looks to me extremely concentrated and knows he's got to put in a good ride today.
Those last few deep breaths steady the nerves as well. The countdown, all of the riders starting today, separated by 2 minutes on the road. Indurain's used to seeing a lot of the riders as he goes on. Now he's away. Indurain to a tremendous cheer here in Bourg-St-Maurice because he is the most popular man. As Indurain makes his start, we go to the finish to the rider who has been setting the best times at every check so far. Chris Bourbon, that's Herminio Diaz-de-Bala, he's passed, so that's 2 of the Once riders that Bourbon has caught today. And this is going to be a great ride by Chris Bourbon. Guirini is the ride to beat, 56.11 seconds, but the clocks have not given Chris his time. We will give it to you as soon as we know it. The time he had to beat was that of Giuseppe Guirini, 56 minutes, 11 seconds. It is a great time, and as he comes up to the line, I can tell you what he's done. 54 minutes and 39 seconds. That's to be confirmed, and that is a great time to beat.
Chris, feel better today? Chris, alors comment ça s'est passé?
Yeah, I wanted to give it a good go so I could...
Merci pour le direct.
So I could see where I stand against the others. I rode very consistent right the way through. Not my better, but not the best I can be, but I was happy that it was constant all the way through. And I had a good sprint, at the end there. So if I'm in the top 5, I'll be relatively happy yesterday.
Happy yesterday, yeah. Does that give you the confidence to go on and finish the tour?
We had, I don't know if you heard, after the stage I got my wallet stolen and everything else as well, so a bit of a bad day on the whole, yeah. So anyway, finished now and had a good ride today. I felt like a tour rider again, and see how it goes tomorrow.
And now we're on to the climb itself. Miguel Indurain, I wonder if he knows he set the fastest time so far at the 9.3 kilometre time check. 12 minutes and 13 seconds to cover little more than 5.5 miles. And all the enthusiasts here, well, they know who they came to see. Big Mig himself pedalling so fluidly on the climb, and now beginning to look as though he might really be climbing back into the Tour de France. And here we have the champion of Denmark, Bjarne Riis, third in the Tour de France last year, and still very much a contender this. He was in the group that finished well in front of Miguel Indurain yesterday at Les Arcs, and we haven't got him pegged yet at the first checkpoint, but looking at the way he's travelling, Paul, he's on a good ride. Now, Miguel Indurain heading up towards the second check. I can tell you at the first check, he was the best time, 6 seconds quicker than Chris Bourg-St-Maurice-Val. So this is going to be a most interesting check indeed. Has he done well as the road has got steeper? The face is looking like a man with determination today rather than the face we saw yesterday, a man who was suffering. Look at this, there's Bourg-St-Maurice-Val's time, 27:40. We're now inside a minute towards Chris's time as Indurain heads up towards the clock. He's still a little way to go as he comes around that bend, but he is on certainly a great ride today. So Miguel Indurain coming towards the check where Bourg-St-Maurice-Val is in first place, and Indurain is going to go through still quicker than Chris Bourg-St-Maurice-Val at the second check as he was at the first. 27:04 they're saying. That's 30 seconds quicker now than Chris Bourg-St-Maurice-Val at the halfway point. Tony Rominger, the great time trial 1 hour record holder, and he is a man who believes he can win this tour now.
Rominger taking a big risk as well. He's the first rider we've seen so far today using a solid disc wheel at the back. He's trying to put everything on his side. It will be a very light disc wheel, but it's a risk using something like that in a hill climb time trial.
Wow, look at this, Paul. Jan Ullrich, the newcomer to the Tour of France. He's gone through 12:06, 7 seconds better than Indurain at the first check, pushing everybody down a notch. Now Ullrich has started a 5th rider from last to go, and that is a surprise. We know he's a time trial rider, but this is a young man in his first tour, and after a tough ride yesterday, to produce a ride like that straight away today is something rather special. Alex Zülle now coming up the mountain, looking very, very calm and relaxed, and a new pair of shorts on after the damage he did yesterday with the 2 crashes he had. With Zülle having gone through 24 seconds slower at the first check than Ullrich, but even so, he's going to finish right up amongst the leaders. But we are looking here at a man who is a good time trial rider. Now, Bjarne Riis has also gone through that check, and he is slotted in ahead of Indurain. This is incredible. He is 5 seconds behind Ullrich, the man who is throwing down the gauntlet to everybody else in the Tour today.
Coming up to that midway point there, Alex Zülle will come through probably in the second time of the moment, just behind Miguel Indurain, but faster times being done out there on the road by Ullrich and also by Bjarne Riis. But looks very much as if Alex Zülle has recuperated from that crash yesterday. You can just see on his knee there a slight bandage, but Zülle as well back in the game.
Here at the finish now is Laurent Jalabert. He still looks very cool, but I think you'll find his time won't be. As Jalabert comes up, he's, I think, now going to have to be a faithful team man to Alex Zülle in the Once team. Look at this, he's going to be outside of the top 15 riders as he comes to the line, and there's still all the big names to finish. Up to the line, he will be 14th for the moment, conceding 3 minutes 26 seconds to the current leader, Chris Bourg-St-Maurice-Val. And as we watch here, Tony Rominger, look at this. They're all through the first check now. Berzin has just gone through, and he has blasted them all. 11 minutes, 50 seconds. The only man to be inside at 12 minutes at that 9.3 kilometre check. That is a superb piece of riding. But Berzin is a great time trialist.
Well, Phil, let's not forget that he's won 4 races this year, and every one of those has been time trials. He won 2 time trials in the recent Tour of Switzerland, and one of those was a hill climb time trial. He really is on form. He's been very quiet in the first week, and it looks now as if Tony Rominger is starting to suffer a little bit in the middle part of this climb.
So with Chris Bourgman still the leader at the finish in Val d'Isère, there are other big names coming up the mountain with better times. Don't go away, we'll take a break.
In 1963, the great Spanish climber Federico Bahamontes took the race lead on the way up to Val d'Isère. The following day, Jacques Anquetil took it back for good, thanks to a bike switch. We'll tell you about it after the break. On the Tour's only previous visit to Val d'Isère, Federico Bahamontes took the race lead, but not for long. The next day, on the road from Val d'Isère to Chamonix, Jacques Anquetil faked a mechanical problem with his bike and switched to a specialist lightweight model for the crucial climb, winning the stage and the yellow jersey which he kept all the way to Paris.
Well, of course, as usual in the Tour, a good proportion of those who started aren't going to make it to Paris at all. If the weather keeps up like this, I could be among them. And you know, I think if they'd known how many riders were going to fall by the wayside during the first week, the Tour organisers might have diverted today's stage up this climb, home of Saint-Maurice's more famous neighbour, St Bernard.
After 9 centuries, Bernard is still manning his bleak alpine outpost, pointing the way to the refuge where he used to break out the brandy for weary travellers on the road to Italy. Unfortunately for their modern counterparts, though, the old hospice has rather gone to the St Bernard's itself. Work is underway to turn it into a museum, but in the meantime, those in search of religious artefacts have to make do with the local gift shop, where the shelves seem to suggest that St Bernard only settled on his famous rescue dogs after a failed experiment with trained beavers. Still, there's plenty of what used to fill the dogs' barrels on sale, and I suspect there'll be a few riders in need of it tonight.
Well, if he's looking down on the riders today, I hope St Bernard's got good eyesight, because Val d'Isère is somewhere over there, but the visibility up here at the moment is down to about 30 yards. Let's hope it's better on the climb up to the finish. Phil?
Well, thank you, Gary, and the weather down here is better. In fact, the promised rain has not come as we now catch up with Miguel Indurain approaching the finish. He's aiming at Bourgman's time of 54 minutes, 23 seconds. He is absolutely flying on the flat road here in Val d'Isère, going past a huge crowd who have waited all day, and in fact, they were camping here all night. He is proving now that this champion is fighting back into the Tour, even though it looks as though he's not going to win this time trial. The riders behind him are setting faster times at the intermediate checks, but I think you'll find now that he's going to set the mark that they're all going to have to aim at. 10 time trial wins in his Tours de France over the years. He's not going to win this one, but he's going to be best for the moment. There's the time of Chris Bourgman, 54.23. For Miguel Indurain, it's going to be 52.54. What a ride. So let me give you the overall situation now. The yellow jersey through at the 15.7 kilometre point with the best time, 26 minutes and 30 seconds. Second best time, Bjarne Riis of Denmark, 14 seconds slower. Third, Ulrich, 25 seconds back. Fourth, Rominger, and fifth, Alano, the name of Indurain. Still not there amongst the men who now matter in this year's Tour de France. Peter Luftenberger coming up to the line now, and he's going to push Indurain's time all of the way. Miguel Indurain in at the moment with the best time. It's an awful long way up this home straight, and they can see the clock as well as they approach it. He's now just ahead of Chris Bourgman. It's going to be a great ride by Peter Luftenberger, the Austrian rider. He just keeps on willing that line to come to him, and it does. He'll be second for the moment. Well, as we watch here, rider 51, the yellow jersey, Jan Ulrich gone through with the best time at 24 kilometres, that's 15 miles. But look at this, he is getting tired. He's only 2 seconds quicker now than Miguel Indurain. So as the slopes get steeper, maybe Jan Ulrich is going to fall back a little bit. Evgeny Berzin is still to get to that 24 kilometre checkpoint, and he is looking set now to increase his lead in the Tour de France. And as we join Bjarne Riis here, he started in the 4th place today, and Bjarne Riis is leading at the time checks before the arrival of Berzin. He's gone through the 24 kilometre check in the best time, a great ride indeed of 45 minutes and 8 seconds, putting him 25 seconds faster than Ulrich and 27 seconds better than Miguel Indurain. And there's the huge wall that holds back the reservoir here. A very brave man to paint that picture. And there is the massive crowd watching the Tour de France today on the slopes here up towards Val d'Isère. And look at this, the crowd here just willing Evgeny Berzin on as they cheer him through. The police and the press motorbike keeping the road clear, but they're always orderly in the Tour de France. They don't need the barriers to keep the crowd back in this sport. They only want to catch a glimpse and then they step aside. Evgeny Berzin out of the saddle, in the saddle, trying to keep the rhythm up. He must know that he is the leader at the early checkpoints. Now we've got the man gritting his teeth, Jan Ullrich. This young man in this first Tour de France, he's become something of a star.
He really has. He's put in some fantastic times out on the course. Ullrich was in fact the German champion of time trials last year. His first year in the Tour de France. He's been riding exceptionally well. He did an awful lot of work yesterday for Bjarne Riis.
Well, here he is, Jan Ullrich, setting the road alight today with his best check times. Only Berzin has been bettering them, and latterly Bjarne Riis. But this should be the best time at the line for Jan Ullrich, the German time trial champion, the man who's riding his first Tour de France, and I think he's now going to remain a challenger for the days ahead. It wasn't a fluke yesterday when he finished with the leaders, because this is going to be a superb ride indeed. Look at this compared to Miguel Indurain. Now he's dropped down to Peter Luttenberger. He has tired over the last few kilometres, but even so, for the moment, he is second in this race with a ride of 53 minutes dead. And now we have the arrival of Bjarne Riis. Now he started 2 minutes behind Jan Ullrich, and I think he's closed that gap considerably in the last 10 or 12 kilometres of the race. Ullrich is certainly tired, but now Bjarne Riis looks like coming in with the best time. He went ahead of Ullrich at 24 kilometres. The face of Bjarne Riis, this man is a real fighter. He gives the Danes hope every year that soon they will get a winner of the Tour de France from Denmark. He was third a year ago. He's now coming up to the line with one of the best time trials of his life in the Tour de France, and he's going to finish ahead of Miguel Indurain. Here comes Bjarne Riis then to the line. He's still sprinting, this man. There's the time to beat of Miguel Indurain, 52.54. He's going to do it. Bjarne Riis had a great end to this time trial, 52.28, 26 seconds better than Miguel Indurain of Spain. Look at the effort here by the champion of Denmark for the second year, by the way. And he's always said he can win the Tour de France, and you know, very few people believe that, but he most certainly does. And now it looks as though we're all going to have to think, well, maybe he can. Out on the course, Evgeny Berzin. There's only three riders still to come. Tony Rominger, Abraham Olano, Evgeny Berzin. Berzin is the man who's setting the times at the third check of the course at 15 miles. Berzin 16 seconds quicker than Bjarne Riis, who is now home with the best time to date. Ullrich was third best here, Indurain was fourth. Ullrich dropped away a little bit.
Now these final few riders coming in, Phil, is going to make it very tight, because only 8 seconds separated these men this morning. Now, if these three other riders out on the course crack over the final few kilometres, it could well be that Bjarne Riis is the new leader of the Tour de France this evening. But on the flatter part of the course, it looks as if Evgeny Berzin has recuperated and he's picked up his speed.
Well, he did seem to take a little dip out on the steep part, but I'm not surprised. He started so quickly with the best time at the first check. Now just look at this, the little man has got his rhythm going superbly now. He's a time trial superstar. Now we go back to Tony Rominger. Rominger starting 4 minutes in front of Evgeny Berzin. There's less between them on the road now. Tony Rominger second yesterday behind Luc Leblanc. Now he's coming up towards the finish. He lies third overall in the Tour de France, and he wants to win it before he gives up the sport, probably at the end of next season. But this could well be the last Tour de France for Tony Rominger, his last chance to win this race. He's won the Tour of Spain 3 times, he's won the Tour of Italy, he's never won the Tour de France. Now we're going to see what sort of a time he can produce. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to keep him right in the frame as this race goes on to Sestriere in the Alps tomorrow. The crowd looking over the boards to see the world hour record holder arriving at the finish. There's the time of Indurain. He might be able to squeeze into second place and split Indurain from Bjarne Riis, but the clock is counting. Tony Rominger hits the line, 52.53. He gets second. So look at this now as Tony Rominger comes in towards the finish. There's the situation at 24 kilometres. Berzin, 24 seconds quicker than Rees. Rominger just finished and conceding almost a minute to Evgeny Berzin. So that says it all, doesn't it? Berzin is not going to concede that in the last 6 kilometers of cycling today. Abraham Olano, the world champion now. Rominger is in with 52.53 in second place. Olano now heading up to the line. He is going, I think, to slot in very, very close to the time of Tony Rominger.
Well, as we're looking at the race at the moment, Bjarne Riis is the new leader. He has finished. We have to wait for these final 2 men to come in. Abraham Olano has to come in with a time of 52 minutes and 35 seconds if he's to stay ahead of Bjarne Riis. And the last few riders have tended to crack over this final part of the course.
Riis, the time he did, 52 minutes 28 seconds. Now, can Abraham Olano beat that? I don't think he can, because he's already behind at all of the Czechs. It's been a tough ride for Olano, himself a great time trial rider. But even so, today I think the pressure of the Tour may have got to him a little bit. He started slower and he was dropping away from the leaderboard all the way up the mountain. There is, in fact, he's already gone slower than Rominger. And Riis, 52.28 is Riis the time to beat. And Olano crosses the line now. It's going to be 52.38. He's second. He's going to be ahead of Rominger, but behind Riis.
Well, a superb ride, but he's tended to crack over the last few kilometers as well. At the final time check, 24 kilometers, Evgeny Berzin still had 16 seconds advantage over Bjarne Riis. And this may well be the final and most important few kilometers of the time trial as Berzin comes here. He needs to cross the line in 52 minutes and 35 seconds to keep his lead. Otherwise, Bjarne Riis is going to be the new leader of the Tour de France this evening.
But I think that we're going to find here that Evgeny Berzin is pulling a superb ride right out of the bag, leading this race today from start to finish at every check. He was ahead of Bjarne Riis by 21 seconds at the first check. Then it was 14 seconds at the second check, 16 seconds at the third check. It's going to be close, but Evgeny Berzin has pulled out some great performances in his life. This will go down as the best. He won the Tour of Italy, you know, when that pushed Marco Pantani to second and Miguel Indurain to third. Now he's come to the Tour de France. Bjarne Riis is on the board, but Evgeny Berzin is going to be on top of him. Evgeny Berzin, the maillot jaune of the Tour de France, top marks, 51.53, a bettering of 35 seconds over Bjarne Riis.
Well, that was a magnificent recovery. It looked very much as if he was suffering over the last few kilometers, the toughest part of the climb. But this is the man who was 2 times world champion in 1990. He knows how to ride as an individual. He knows how to ride against the clock. He's coming up to the line here. This is a picture of sheer concentration.
Evgeny Berzin, well, he told everybody he's going to win the Tour, and I think he might well do that now. But there's still a long way to go, and of course the rest of the Alps and the Pyrenees still to come. And they're a long way ahead, the Pyrenees, and a lot of things can happen. So the 26-year-old Russian has made his mark with an emphatic time trial ride. He finished 35 seconds ahead of the Great Dane, Bjarne Riis, and 45 in front of Abraham Olano. Miguel Indurain may have started his fight back with a 5th place finish, and Chris Boardman a lot happier today, taking 8th place. Max Chandry, by the way, not aiming for a high overall finish in the Tour, did 1 hour, 1 minute and 5 seconds today. Berzin now has increased his overall lead, but defending it will not be easy on the road ahead. He leads Riis by 43 seconds and Olano by 45. Indurain has moved up from 14th to 11th. Chris Boardman is now 39th and Max Chandry 72nd. And as Evgeny Berzin gets his 2nd yellow jersey of the Tour de France, I can now tell you that Mr. Colin Cross from Northfleet in Kent, well, sir, you will get your first as winner of our competition. Thousands of you, in fact, voted for Evgeny Berzin to win today. And I wonder, Colin, if you can defend your yellow jersey when we have another competition for you next week. And don't forget, we also have our own site on internet this year, so you can look us up there and find some interesting facts about the Tour de France. Well, the weather has closed in, the rain coming, thank heavens, after the race had finished. But over my shoulder is the giant climb of the Col de Liseron. That's the way for the Tour de France tomorrow into the finish of Sestriere in Italy. The forecast is not good. This is turning out to be an amazing Tour de France. Do stay with us. Tomorrow, our programme coming to you at 6 o'clock. Till then, goodbye.